What does it mean to be an illustrator?
You're depicting whatever idea it is into a visual. I am what I call commercial illustrator.
Alicia Souza. She has collaborated with some of the biggest brands in the world like Google and Yahoo, illustrated for books like Tinkle, and also teach for India.
Got a mail saying, editor at the newspaper really loved your drawings and she wants you to illustrate something for the newspaper.
Yeah.
Loved the project so much that I never sent an invoice. There's not a single person who's not creative.
Right.
And drawing is a skill. Everybody is creative. Everyone can do. This posting online became part of my advertising or my marketing of sorts,
Right.
which I do till today. If you have to charge 5,000 for an illustration and you do 4 weeks, you're going to make 20,000 rupees.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
So I work as a freelancer and that is purely me. And the other side is the company.
Right.
And I get royalties from the company. So what, it's been 14 years.
Yeah.
And that is still my primary marketing.
So Alicia, the idea is if I am a young person who is starting out at zero, just somebody who believes that I can draw, I can illustrate, I can doodle, and I'm interested in thinking about this as a legitimate career opportunity, where do I go from here to all the way to building a career such as yours?
Right.
So actually the place where we want to start is if I was to define what does it mean to illustrate or what does it mean to be an illustrator? Can you define the word illustrator for us?
That's a great question. Okay,
Yeah.
so you think that illustrator means drawing, which technically it does, but as an illustrator, you can have multiple mediums. You can do collage, and it's basically visual making. You're depicting whatever idea it is that you need to depict into a visual, and that visual serves the need of what is required. And that's basically what it is.
Right.
Now, even under Illustrator, there are sub lines which will go down and say you can be an editorial illustrator, you can be a fashion illustrator, you can be a product illustrator, you can be a technical medical illustrator. There's so many. Like you can be even what's the word for it? Political illustrator, so you draw for cartoons for newspapers and stuff like that. I am what I call, and people call, I guess, a commercial illustrator. That means I draw for commercial projects. I say commercial because I do a broad range of things. I do everything from publishing, so books, to product, which is my main.
So if I'm going to go to YouTube and learn and I don't know very much about illustration, what would you recommend I learn first? Yeah.
If I have to say today, what you want, if you want to study online, what are the places?
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not like 100% sure, but the ones, Skillshare is very easy. It's small kind of classes. There's also Schoolism, which had very detailed ones for specifically drawing.
Right.
And lighting and stuff like that. It's beautiful. And then it depends what kind of illustration also, then you can go into things.
Yeah.
A lot of artists started having their own classes, like on their website and stuff like that.
Right.
YouTube is massive. Like you can't even get away from the fact that if you have very specific requirements, so say you want to learn lighting for face, type that in YouTube, you're going to get at least 20 classes, which are great. And enough for you to get the ball rolling, because hence that it's what you want to do after. Do you want to get deeper into it, or do you want to get wide into it? Like, that kind of stuff.
Got it. Okay, you know what? I learned a little bit. I know enough about this that I can actually potentially get some work. Is where I am at in my life.
Got it.
To that, what was your first commercial project like?
I will tell you. Okay.
Yeah.
First commercial project I've ever had was the day uni got over. We had a portfolio review. I was not there for it.
Right.
I left the country.
Okay.
And I went home and I got a mail saying this editor at the newspaper really loved your drawings and she wants you to illustrate something for the newspaper.
Wow.
Stoked. Best thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Loved the project so much that I never sent an invoice. Because I was too shy. Yeah. First mistake I made. Anyway, that was the first thing. But when I started freelancing in India, so that I was thrown in the boat and I had to start randomly. I literally started, so that's the reason I started a Facebook page. So I used to put these small drawings every day, and that's how I got my first project. But then that became part of my job. This posting online became part of my advertising or like my marketing of sorts, which I do till today. So what, it's been 14 years. And that is still my primary marketing.
So it's almost like creating the Alicia Souza Facebook page and now say Instagram page. that page is your portfolio per se.
Absolutely. That worked for me in terms of reaching out. But now we also have just plain reaching out. We have Instagram, we have email addresses at the tips of our fingers. It's ridiculous.
Right.
So you can just send a beautiful mail to art directors, to brands, to, media houses, whatever it is, and say, this, I think this fits. I think my drawings fit. You can pitch.
So the way that I'm thinking about this is, like now when I come to step one, which is to think about the fact that I need to now get my first commercial project.
Yes.
I don't think anybody is going to give me a full-time job as an illustrator because I'm too new in this.
You can.
Okay,
you can. There are some. Okay, so you can get internships. I think you can also get design jobs which have illustration as part of it. You can work in publishing where you can. That possibility is there.
Let's say we talk about like commercial illustration.
Okay.
How do I go about getting my first ever gig?
Got it.
And the follow-up to that also is that while I get my first gig, what would be the right amount to quote or to receive?
Okay. First is how would you get it? One is you approach people, like I said. You approach, you mail them, and you say, this is my portfolio, this is what I do.
So I'm writing to the art director, the media house, or brands?
Brands. Anything you think your art's going to work on. You can get into like a small company where you think you can do their brochure. You just need to start. And that's the painful part. If you don't want to go the other direction, which is just online, you post your illustrations daily online, and hope to God someone sees it.
Right.
One other thing you can do, especially when you're starting out and you have maybe more time on your hands, is that you can do an entire mock project. So you can pitch that as well. Like,
okay, let's say it's an online brochure and I'm designing something for your website or your social handle or something of that sort. You can use it indefinitely and across as many spaces as you want to. For a project like that, considering I've just started, would I say that I could charge 5,000 or 10,000 rupees?
No, not so little. If you have to charge 5,000 for an illustration and it took you a week to do, for them to get back 100 times, and you do 4 weeks, you're going to make 20,000 rupees. You can't even charge GST on that. But it's just like, see, when you're starting out, you will charge lower because I did projects for 6,000. That's the starting project that I've done.
Right.
Pre that is that you have to be really good at money. And I'm just going to say I'm really good at money.
Right.
As in,
Epic.
you have to be a good saver. If you're a freelancer, you have to be a good saver. You have to be able to manage your money. You have to be able to do your taxes and do all your accounts, do your invoices, and you should be able to do it monthly. You have to be so on top of it.
Got it. Yeah, and I'm trying to, so that people, young people who are joining the industry are not misquoting.
Yes.
And I just, out of the top of my head, thought that, maybe, I'm going to charge like 5 or 10,000 rupees for a creative, which you mentioned categorically is, say, incorrect with the context of 4 weeks in a month.
I think if you're going to do 5,000, it has to be small. It has to be no changes. It has to be, But again, if you feel like you just want to start and charge 5,000, do it.
When we think personal projects, what does personal projects mean?
So personal projects are personal commissions where someone is asking for like a family portrait or like couple portrait which they want to put on their wedding card. And then you charge differently, but also what the asks are different. Like a corporate, I would put, like say if I put a range of like, I'm going to do 2 edits, but for personal, they'll want about 3.
I see, got it.
They might want. You can put all these lists of things that you can do and can't do before.
Like terms and conditions.
Yes, we absolutely will get to that because it's very important.
Yeah, so that's very interesting. So we think about it as maybe starting out with like doing personal projects. And I'm thinking of it as a great way for me to also sort of understand the ecosystem. So I also want to look at it, Alicia, from the angle of when I'm starting out, I also want to know what the resources are that I must consume. Like, is there something that you'd recommend that I read? Like as the base of it?
Okay. I'll tell you the things that everyone loves.
Yeah.
I don't think any are necessaries at all because I think everyone's inspiration are completely different things. Some it might be like An Artist's Way, I think is a book which artists seem to love, which I've still not even read.
Right.
Steal Like an Artist by, I think, Austin Kleon. For me, what changed me or inspired me way more was looking through a Quentin Blake children's book.
So, and also that also brings us to the part that you were also referring to, equipment-wise. When I start out, what do I need? Do I need just pen, paper? That's enough. And when I start to go digital, what do I need as bare-bone basics that you think I should invest in?
Okay. So in terms of equipment, you definitely need some sort of computer. And if I mean computer, I mean it's either a computer, or you can use an iPad. Again, very dependent on the illustration work that you're doing. An iPad is a great investment, like with the pencil. And, and software.
Right.
You have to know how to edit your illustration. I don't think people understand how much it's needed. And you need to understand how to clean it up, how to send a file for print, what high resolution is versus what's low resolution.
Right.
How, how much space do you need on the edge? How do you change that? How do you do a transparent background if they need to use it on different sort of materials? Like all those things are absolutely necessary. Artworking is necessary knowledge.
And what software would you recommend?
I use Photoshop. Like Photoshop for me is like, I use it so much. Like in life, I think in Photoshop shortcuts.
Yeah,
it's just so much. A heavy Photoshop user.
So it's like Photoshop, iPad, Apple Pencil. If I have these three sort of things.
Yeah, you're good to go.
I'm good to go.
So you can use a laptop if you want. You can connect your iPad to the computer as well. I use a Wacom tablet.
Right. And that would actually, I would imagine, be a great starting point as well in terms of education. So if I want to learn, I should technically be learning how to do illustration on Photoshop.
No. You absolutely don't need to learn on Photoshop. You absolutely, if you need to draw, so Photoshop technically is an editing tool, but you can draw on Photoshop. Of course, it's used for drawing as well.
Right.
But you can on the iPad. There's also Photoshop, but say Procreate is a really good drawing, intuitive, very easy to use.
Right.
But what I always stress is, say when you're starting out as an intern in a company, you need to know the basic software just because it ends up being so useful. I think if there's one thing that I'm really glad I did was basic learning of software. And this is all online. No one teaches you. No one teaches you. But just to be able to say put the file on a bottle and see how it looks, to be able to lay it out and put all those things you need to be able to do. And so just being quick with that, being quick also is an advantage. I don't think it's a necessity. It's just an advantage because I feel like for me it's a very big part of getting your shortcuts in, learning. It just really adds value
you got
to
that
your
because
game.
you spend so much time on those softwares.
Of course. See, you get better at your craft, but you also get better at the tools of your craft.
Epic. So if I was to learn Procreate, because I don't know Procreate right now, should I learn on the software tutorial? Should I go to YouTube? What would be the best way to learn Procreate?
That's a good question. Okay, so this is my usual. Okay.
Yeah.
I will do one mini tutorial.
Right.
Basics, understanding where everything is, very basic. Right. And then the best way to learn, this is how I learned Photoshop. The best thing someone did was just give me a project and figure it out. Finish the project. And it should not be super intense. Like I don't want to, do a drawing of like this entire house in 3-dimensional, all those things. No, you can just be like, I'm going to draw this entire wall space and I'm going to add some pictures in. So you give yourself these tasks and you should be able to finish this one project. And suddenly you've learned so much with hands-on experience.
We can think of this as, say, step number 1. I've done a few personal projects.
Great.
I've reached a point where I am able to generate money from this. I want to learn about the fact that if I get to step number 2, what does it look like to make this sustainable?
So you can do one of two things. You can jump into the water and say, I'm leaving my job. This project is going to pay me this and it's going to sustain me for 3 months. But in those 3 months, I have to work enough to get my next project by then.
Right.
Okay? This is going to be risky, but you should be confident enough for it.
Right.
The second is you take on this one big project and you still work at your day job or whatever.
Right.
You burn the candle at both ends for just a little bit till you realize that, enough. I did this project. It worked. I know I can, I can take this full time and basically do the same thing.
If somebody who's just joined as an illustrator in an organization, what should a typical illustrator today be compensated? Would you have any range?
I would think it would be anywhere from 50 odd.
Okay.
Again, depending if you're just out of uni or if you're, you've been drawing for a while and you have a substantial portfolio from the starting rate, which is about 30 odd, all the way to like $1.5 odd.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe I have a range of what I could do when I do a full-time a role with an organization as an illustrator.
Also depends on the organization.
I also seen like a lot of young people do these freelance projects, which keeps them creatively fueled.
So good.
Right?
So good. I cannot stress how important that is. Whether you're working for an organization or you're freelancing, you should always be doing personal projects on the side.
That's very cool.
Like it could be just a drawing, it could be products, it could be anything.
Yeah.
But that is your creative spark or your, the thing that keeps you.
Imagine that there was a whiteboard and we started out as saying that, you know what, Alicia, I'm starting this journey. And I need you to help me understand that if I go from 50,000 rupees as a person getting a job and doing this, I want to get to point B. I want to get to some point B.
Right.
And I need to understand that this career graph, how much can I possibly earn being an illustrator who has only 12 hours or 14 hours in a day to give this?
Yeah. We are in a beautiful time in this world. Right. I know, again, everyone's scared of AI and all this stuff. Nothing. Don't much worry. Because there's so much that tech has done for creatives to be able to put their hands in multiple things that can make them money. Firstly, it can be product and it can be teaching. It can be just online consulting, whatever it is, drawing.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, how do you increase your income if you want to go to your infinite, as you mentioned?
Yeah.
And that only comes with passive income, which makes money on the side without me needing to, like, say, hold up a t-shirt and sell. That should be recurring by itself. The same thing happens with teaching, where you pre-record or record some classes, you sell them online, and then money comes in from that passively. You just have one investment of time, and that becomes. That can go up.
Understood.
How much ever you want. I can consult younger illustrators who want, and it'll be a one-on-one consultation. I charge a fee. The other is product, which is what I do. That is a passive income where it just makes money.
Understood. Right now we are on step 2, which is to say that we just started to get into the game. Got a full-time or part-time job and doing my side quests with it. And this way I've basically built out an opportunity to basically make about a lakh and a half a month. What is the immediate next move from, because I typically imagine somebody who's at like 1.5 odd lakhs is getting comfortable. But needs to know how to jump.
Okay, so next step is where you can be like, okay, you're an illustrator and you can start being an agent of Illustrator. Where you say you're getting a lot of work, but you can also like sub them and in a percentage, whatever it is.
I see, got it.
That is a possibility. Then you become like a creative agency as sorts. You know, so you can have these after a while.
So what I'd love to understand is, to you, what did success mean in terms of numbers for yourself?
So my ultimate goal was to be able to earn. It always was. Honestly, even if I was not an illustrator, it always was that I earn a good income, good enough to be able to have a savings, enough to have an investment, and enough to live a life where I can do everything that I want to do.
Right.
It is so vague, but so easy for people to put in their numbers. That works for them and that works for me.
And to actually go deeper into the work part of your day, what is the process of Alicia Souza at work? From the time that she receives a brief.
From the time the brief comes in. So the first thing I ask is firstly what they're looking for. So the type of drawings firstly, if they've seen my work, because sometimes they just get a recommend from people. So have you seen my work? I'll send a link. So it'll be a mail of me showing stuff. It'll be a mail of me asking for their requirements, the number of drawings, the timeline they have, the usage, how long they need me to execute it, or a timeline of when they need it to go into production if it's a product. And I'll be like, after you give me these details, I will give you a rundown of a timeline and an estimate. And hence then I will give you a rundown of how I work.
Understood.
So the next mail will come in with all these details. Then I will see whether work makes sense or not. If there needs to be, sometimes they'll tell me a budget beforehand. Most of the time they don't. And then I'll send them an estimate. I'll usually give a rounded one. If I sometimes think I can add value in another way. So just imagine you're doing an illustration and you can make it an animation. I'm just doing. You can suggest that, because then you can even bulk up your price, but also you're adding value. Then, so that happens. Once I get an approval of the code, sometimes they want to discuss on the thing, but at least they have an understanding. Because if the estimate is too way off, they're not getting on that call.
Right.
Because it's not going to make sense for both of us.
Yeah,
So
fair enough.
I don't want to waste anyone's time. And then the next thing is a step of how I work. I write down in words what I'm going to deliver.
Okay.
They have to prove that before I even put a pencil to paper. They can kind of understand what I'm going to be. So just imagine I'm going to be drawing a hippopotamus holding up a towel. That is going to be the drawing. They'll approve that. Then I'll start drawing.
Understood.
Once I do the drawing, if they're saying, okay, I feel like, maybe he has not a grin, but a smile. That's an edit. I would mention a number of edits, but I usually don't even do edits. But I'll be like, tell me the color palette beforehand. If you have, say they want a specific Pantone blue because it matches their brand logo, whatever it is.
Right.
I'll mention what my output is. It's a specific section where its output will be 12 by 12 inch drawing at 300 dpi, 600 dpi, whatever it is. It'll have no background, so you can use it. All these specifics are there. No one is getting confused.
Right.
Everything is on mail. So even if after I get on a call, if they suggested something to me, I'll be like, please put it on mail. Because then there's no you said, I said. It's very clear. No one's getting their hand like this.
Yeah.
Now, a good rule is to get a 50% or 30%, depending on the thing. Advance.
Yeah.
I sometimes don't. But if you feel like maybe you need this advance, or it's a long-term project. If it's a long-term project, you should have to take. There's no question on that. So if it's long-term, take a advance. 30 to 50 is the normal rule of thumb.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can do it in stages. We'll do it in 3 stages. 30
These
to 30.
are the milestones.
Yeah.
You finish
And by
this, you'll
that,
get this. Okay, got it.
That also.
Got it. So from the time that you began to do prints, how did that grow? And how did that grow both scale-wise and also grow financially?
Right.
And let's go from your own 0 to 1.
Okay.
I'd love to learn about that.
Okay. So I didn't think I was going to get into merchandise, honestly, when I just started freelancing. But because I started posting on Facebook, that was only Facebook.
Yeah.
I started getting a lot of requests, like, can I get this on the mug? And I had worked with product before, of course, with your mug.
Yeah.
And I remember one illustration got viral, and they're like, oh, can I get this? Can I get this? And I didn't.
Right.
And I was like, what a wasted opportunity.
Right.
So then Sante opened up, which was a flea market. You just put your products out.
Yeah.
And you hope people buy.
Right.
And I did really well. And I was like, okay, this is an indicator that I should start product.
Yeah.
And that involves a bit of investment, but not a ton, because I'm never going to start big.
Yeah, because you're spending today 20 or 25,000 rupees to get a stall. I think today, in today's day and age.
That time it was much less, but that time also money, of course, was.
So doing well meant how much you'd invested into.
If you break even, you're good. Because the problem is people will be like, oh, I sold everything and I did well. No. You didn't calculate your time. You didn't calculate the transport. You didn't calculate. So you just want to be able to break even, and you're good because you're using most of these marketing.
Yeah, this is marketing.
Yeah, it's marketing.
Got it.
So started an online store. It was a lot of work because online store was not easy then. It was not like click of a button kind of. Not that it's click of a button now.
It has become easier now,
It has 100% become easier. I think we should know. By the way, there's a lot of bumps here and there till I got to that part. But I met my current partner, Saurabh, who runs the logistics of the online store.
Yeah.
We got along really well. And I was like, I'm in the midst of closing the store. I cannot handle both. I have to do one or the other. So he's like, let's do the store. I said we'll do the store for a few months.
Right.
But this was, 7-8 years ago, and we're still running all the time. And that is luck. Or meeting a lot of people. Or asking around.
Right.
It's one of the three. I mean, it's all of the three.
Yeah.
There's this much luck, but this much other stuff, which is compromise. Because I need to make it worth his while to be invested in this business. So I have to give him enough business to run this online store, to be able to pay a salary to him.
Yeah, and in the web store, what did you start with a product? Did you have multiple?
No, you can't start a product with. You'll lose money for sure. So we had a full bandwidth of products. So I think we had mugs, we had t-shirts. T-shirts are done in bulk then. Kids t-shirts and magnets, photo frames, notebooks, not that much more.
So I want to also understand, for an artist today who is an illustrator who's thinking about starting a web store, you also need to know what the numbers look like.
I'll tell you. Okay, it's basic math. Okay. Like you just have to know how much your product costs,
Yeah.
what your expenses are. You'll get to a percentage of each, and then you can put it on an Excel sheet. Your
Percentage as in a margin.
You'll
Like
get
you
a
mean
percentage for each thing. How much do your expenses work out to?
Yeah.
And each thing becomes a percentage. Put it on an Excel sheet. Make this little beautiful Excel sheet.
Right.
And then you'll understand how much a mug will cost you, how much you'll have to sell it to make a profit, which is 10 rupees or whatever. How much, and all your expenses will be things your blind expenses, which you've not noticed before. Like suddenly you don't realize that your online store takes a percentage. Your payment gateway takes a percentage. If you're selling on Amazon, they take a beautiful 30%. You know, if you're selling at a retail store, they can take up to 60%.
Right.
So suddenly you're like, oh, I can't make a 60% margin. I have to make 100% margin because now out of the 40 remaining percentage, I have to pay my partner, I have to pay the person who's packaging, I have to pay packaging, I have to
there's
so
a lot
many
going
parts.
on.
Yeah. But at the same time, it is such a good thing to have. Once you get right, you can still keep doing it.
Right.
Prints are amazing because now people buy prints for their house. Everyone loves beautiful home.
Yeah.
People love prints. You can add value by saying, I'm going to sign them. It's not fragile. You just have to make sure you wrap it up nicely. And that's that you pick your products based on that.
Got it. So, Alicia, the thought about like your own social media and the way that you've built a community around your handles, specifically because I know that as an artist, whoever is trying to build a distribution, that can lead to commerce as well. I think there is an entire journey that you've taken on. Can you tell us a little bit about that part of the journey?
Okay. So I feel like there's only one thing that I've done for social media, and that is consistency.
Right.
That's all I've done. I've just posted almost every single day for 12 odd years.
Wow.
So I mean, if anyone does that, you will have people following. So I feel like that worked for me. Though now I am seeing a change in like how Instagram is reacting to
static content
or like calm person who are not engaging, which challenge you to do your next thing. Like I don't watch video. I don't watch video at all. I barely watch video. But I suddenly Reels is the whole thing. But now I'm really kind of enjoying not that I watch videos still, but I love recording it and editing it. And now I certainly love editing. And so something I would never have thought. Because if you don't like watching video, what are the chances of you? I love editing. And I also, and because it's short form, I don't have to really watch myself for very long, which is great. But it's fun. So I think that challenge also worked out in a really nice way.
So it was like posting consistently and building that audience to where it is at right now. At what point did you decide that now it's time to start monetizing this?
Oh, I think we started ads only during season, if I'm not mistaken. So this is the part I don't handle. During the season or when we do the big launch.
Got it.
That's the only thing. But other than that, like nothing else I don't do.
Solid. So this is very straightforward. Just be consistent. You good. And do you put that revenue from, say, any brand work that you would do on social media? Do you put that into your corporate projects?
No. I'll tell you how I work with finance. Completely different. So I work as a freelancer, and that is purely me as an individual. And the other side is the company. The company is a completely different entity. And I actually don't take money from the company at all, except get royalties from the products that I sell in the company. So I don't take anything else. Now, this doesn't make sense, honestly, but it worked for me and my partner.
You know how you were describing the process of working on a project for a client? I'd love to understand what that is from a product point of view as well. So if I am an illustrator who's thinking about building a product from step 0, what do I need to do to build this entire journey of starting out the journey of making a product?
Just a single product. So you're going to make t-shirts. I'm just going to give you a hypothetical. Okay. You got a drawing. You think it's going to be good on t-shirt. First is sampling. So you have the file. You go to Print Express, take my file. That time it was USB drive, no clouds. USB drive, gave it to him, make a sample, see how it's done. Check the packaging. Does it come with packaging? Can you afford to do custom packaging? Possibly not. So you make stickers. Check the cost of stickers.
Yeah.
Now, you're not calculating even your
your
cost in
time
this
or
work.
your costs.
Yeah, no, it's just a pure price. How much would you have to sell it to make it worth for a Sunpay?
Yeah.
And that's how you decide a sales kit. And then you place an order with them and say you need it by whatever date.
Yeah.
And then count 10 days hence.
Right.
Because no manufacturer gives them time. And
Right.
10 is very ideal. You
Right.
can, it is
Yeah,
ridiculous.
so you're going to start much before.
Yeah, and that's it. Products
Yeah.
in your hand, you take. Also, you never realize how much product is until you have it in your hands. Because
Yeah.
suddenly you're like, wow, this looks so little, or wow, this looks like a lot.
Right.
Especially when you're counting in hundreds and thousands, you're just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Because once it reaches that number, then you need a place because it doesn't
Right.
fit under your belt. Sometimes
Got it.
it's cheaper to hire someone who'd be able to do it
Right.
part-time or sometimes. So that's, again, numbers game. And only when you look at your numbers, you can figure out whether it's worth it.
Got it. But these are the different avenues
Different
that are
avenues,
possible.
yeah.
Got it. What would be the one piece of advice that you would give to a young person today?
Many people stop at one illustration, I didn't get hired and this
Yeah.
is not working out. But you have to diligently do it for
Right.
ages and do it consistently. You have to be on top of it every time
Yeah.
for you to see results. And
Yeah.
it's almost like a recipe in anything in life, honestly. For
Yeah. Right.
you do anything for long enough, it's going to move. Like, how can it not?
Yeah.
Like,
That's amazing.
Yeah.
No, that's
anything,
great.
Yeah.
And also, is there a mistake that you think you made that you don't think anybody else should go down the route of?
Oh, I'll give you two. One is send that invoice.
Right.
That one for sure. And the second thing is, see, you will get burnt. Like, it's just part of the journey. Just get back up and shake yourself off and start again and start it again and start it again. And because those will just be stories you have along the way. And it's fun.
Yeah.
And the more you do it, you're just gonna the successes will outweigh the drops by
Yeah.
miles. And then suddenly, like,
I hear you.
yeah.
And also, I mean, is there a sort of process of your philosophy on investing today that you think would be relevant to anybody who's trying to become an illustrator?
Okay, when you try to have 6 months of savings in the bank. When I say
Right.
savings, as in like your monthly expenses
Right.
plus some, I say actually have a year.
Yeah.
Literally everybody should just be not touching that fund.
Right.
See, hence that there's a lot more that because then it becomes like an investment game, like where
Yeah.
you're going to start investing because savings is not the deal, it's the
Right.
investing. And here's where you talk to people who are professionals. Again, it's something else to think about, but it's honestly part of life. Like
Yeah.
the whole world is economics and
Right.
Everything you do is going to touch upon it. So
Right.
your work is half your life. So you
Yeah.
should be, it's all correlated.
Yeah. So I'd love to learn more about the fact that, if there is a client that you are working with and, you have a certain idea what the project is and there is feedback on that project, how do you navigate between feedback and between the job is
Okay.
at hand
Right.
and your own individuality,
Got it. Okay.
if that makes sense?
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Remember, I mentioned that how I work with having everything on paper,
Yeah.
including me writing what I'm going to deliver. So there are no sudden surprises.
No ambiguities.
You don't want any surprises. No
Yeah.
one likes them over here. Hence that if there's a change, then you can always say this is not what we discussed. So this becomes logical. It's not
Yeah.
heart and soul. So that doesn't happen. But if it does, you can always charge for a change, which is, of course, part of the deals also, by the way. So when you are mentioning what your things are, you can say, I do 3 changes. Post that, I charge X per change.
Yeah.
So that can be things. So they are also restrained from making change unless it's really needed.
Right.
The last one is that I think the best example I got is from my husband and he's like, sometimes there's a point where an item that wants to go in a house, which is, say, hideous.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's their house. They have
Yeah.
to live in it.
Yeah.
So you should let them do what makes them
What?
happy.
Yeah.
Any project that comes to you is yours. You're doing a service.
Yeah.
It is not your.
Right.
So I think there is that leeway you have to get into when you're doing project. And I think you learn that over time also. You put your heart into everything, but maybe you're going to restrain from putting your soul also into
Right.
it. You know what I mean?
Alicia, thank you so much,
Thank
firstly,
you.
for being here and making the time to do this. I genuinely believe that people who are looking at building a career as an illustrator The opportunities are obviously immense, and there are so many people who are looking at this world more seriously than they ever have before. And thank you for putting the time to create some structure
joy. Oh my God.
into this playbook that we're trying to create. But if you have any thoughts that you want to close this with.
Okay, definitely throwing this in, because if there's ever an non-illustrator, someone who just loves drawing, a lot of people say, I used to draw as a kid and now I'm not creative. And oh my God, that drives me nuts. I don't think I always start a fight when this happens, because I'm like, there's not a single person who's not creative.
Right.
And drawing is a skill.
Right.
So everybody is creative. That is one. Everyone can do.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you think of things logically, you get things done quicker and faster.
Yeah.
And you can handle a lot of because business is mostly logic, not there is heart and soul that goes into it, but there's a lot of logic that plays out to make it work. And I feel like together they form this beautiful bond, and it's like the best creation ever.
This is amazing. Yeah. No, thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm so glad.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, Alicia had such incredible insights to offer from her own career as being an illustrator. I hope that this episode of The How with Shreyas Jain was useful to you. If you did really like it, please like, share and subscribe to 01's YouTube channel. This is me, Shreyas Jain, signing off. Until next time.